Alright, what's up? We're gonna do our World Cup knockout stage predictions today. I didn't do it for. I made a video for my, I guess, overall preview of the World Cup, but it took forever for me to edit. It was like 3 hours of footage. So, this is what we're doing. We're just going right into it with the knockout stage preview because I've just been degeneratively watching all the games as I do, and I've done actually pretty good with just how I thought it would play out. I predicted all the group winners to be correct, which is pretty nice. But some surprise teams in this knockout stage have made it in, and I think there's a lot of actually interesting matchups. So let's get into it. Let's start out with this first match, which actually it's the first match is tonight, and that's why I'm kind of rushing to get this video out. We have South Africa and Canada. They're playing in LA tonight. Should be actually a decent game. Pretty evenly matched, I would say. I definitely think Canada is going to win this one nothing, based off of just I think they have a little more firepower than South Africa does. Nothing would. I would appreciate it if South Africa won this game, Bafana. But I think Canada wins this game 1-0. Just like I said, they have more firepower, and I think it should be a decent, fairly easy match. But I mean, we'll see. Anything's possible, right? And let's go to the next day, which would be the 29th. Germany, Paraguay, and Boston. I think this is another fairly easy matchup here. I think Paraguay is just going to have a tough time defending against Germany, and I think this is going to end up 2-1 with like a late consolation goal for Paraguay. On the 29th as well, we have Netherlands, Morocco in Monterrey. This should be a tough game, and I I really think this is gonna be another penalty shootout. I think it could be a 1-1 or 2-2. I'm leaning Morocco in this game. I think Morocco's gonna win this one. Another tough exit for Netherlands, but we'll see. I think this could be a tough one for both teams. It's obviously a crazy matchup. Then we have 29th, Brazil, Japan. Woo! Another steamroll. Another just beautiful game. I think this could be another tough one. I don't see in Houston. I don't see Japan winning this match. I think it could be 3-2. Just an exciting game. Neymar should maybe will be starting this one. I'm not sure. I'm going with Brazil though. And then there should be. Is there not another one? Oh, okay. Cool. 30th. France, Sweden. I think this is demolition job. 3-0, 3-1 maybe. Sets up that beautiful matchup between Germany and France. So it's the 30th. Let's keep going by the day. I kind of like this. Ivory Coast, Norway. This might be the most anticipated matchup for me personally. I think this is a lot of fun storylines. You obviously have the rowers of Norway. You have the and then you have just the dynamism of the young talent that Ivory Coast have. In Dallas, I think this should be a pretty evenly matched game. I think it's a honestly penalty win for Norway here. Tough because I really do like Ivory Coast. I think having Holland is just that big of a difference. Then we have Mexico, Ecuador. I think at the Azteca. Oh my gosh. This is going to be a dogfight. I think this could be a really incredibly physical match. Wouldn't be surprised if there was a red card in this one. We have Caicedo, we have Estupinian, we have Pacho. You have all these great players on Ecuador, but I think Mexico at home, and I know it'll probably be like 50-50 fan base this match, just based off of how well Ecuador has traveled so far at this World Cup. I think it's going to be just a grudge match, a 1-1, and I think honestly, if it ends up in a draw and it ends up going to penalties, I like Ecuador to win this on penalties. But maybe it's not a draw. I think Mexico probably has the better team cohesion. Um, I don't know how I feel about this because honestly, in my like preview for the World Cup, I had Mexico winning their group, but I didn't have them winning. I had them winning against like England. I think I had them winning against in their like simulated round of 32 match, but I don't. I think they can win this one. We'll see. Um, we'll go with no. I don't know. We might come back to this. Um, yeah, we're gonna come back to this. I think no. I'm just going with Ecuador, guys. That's the one match I think I'm gonna get stumped on this entire time. But all right, let's just keep going along. These next games, I think it's the first. USA Bosnia. All right, I've actually talked about this quite a bit around the house. Obviously, I'm an American, so in San Francisco, which is kind of a weird spot, in my opinion, for this for the U.S. to be playing. Just a weird host city, in my opinion. I don't know what they've done to deserve it, but here they are, and we have a 2-0 win. I think Bosnia really sets up really well. They obviously defend well, but I think midfield wise, the U.S. should be able to dominate this match. And hypothetically speaking, I think this is a big time win for the U.S. Just asserting that those first two games weren't a fluke. I just think Bosnia's gonna have a tough time getting through our midfield, and that's where we obviously have our strengths. Also, I guess earlier in the day we have Belgium Senegal. Belgium in that last game against New Zealand, wow, they looked great. I mean, Doku. If you know anything about me, I think he's a phenomenal winger. So underrated, but I prefer Senegal in this match. I think they also had a great third game. They also won 5-1. There's a lot of just stinky games. Admittedly, we kind of saw this coming going into this World Cup, but there were some stinky games in that third round of group stage matches. Wow. I'm leaning Senegal on this one just because I think Belgium, it's be tough for them to replicate that. I think Senegal has a little bit more enthusiasm in them. They've looked a little weird at times in this tournament. Both teams have honestly been kind of disappointing, but I'm leaning Senegal, just based off of I think they have just enough defensively where they can hold off, and athletically they can handle Belgium. That's where I think they'll be able to stand out there, setting up a USA and Senegal match in Seattle. And England Congo, I think this would be a 3-0, 3-1. This would be a pretty fairly easy win for England. I like Congo. Actually predicted them to get in through as a third place team, but good for them. I think England is actually a pretty favorable matchup for a lot of teams that want to if you have to play a big time team, England's one of the teams you want to play. I just don't think Congo's going to be up for the task. Argentina, Cape Verde. Actually, that's the third. We'll get back to that. Switzerland, Algeria. Woo! In Algeria, what am I talking about? This one's in Vancouver. Little Algeria, people like to say. I don't know. It's just a made up thing, but I don't know. I think I'm leaning Switzerland because of their knockout record, but they don't have Jan Sommer no more to kind of bail them out. In that, I do like Gregor Kobel. I like Manzambi, but Algeria have played some good football in this tournament. Obviously, tying Austria is an ideal. They could have won, which would have made them play Spain. So I guess they kind of dodged a bullet there. They're on this side of the bracket now. Switzerland plays very compact. They've got some nice young talent. We kind of know what we're going to get with them. Algeria is a little bit more unpredictable. They have some dynamic players in and around the field. Lots of athleticism. Obviously, their goalkeeping situation isn't fantastic. I think this is another 2-2 draw probably. If we're going on penalties, I prefer Switzerland, and I think Algeria will outplay them, but it's just going to be how that game goes. And then we have the last day. Sorry, we have Portugal, Croatia in Toronto. What a weird knockout stage stadium to have. But Toronto, Portugal, Croatia. Croatia's kind of looked sus, admittedly. I think this is a win. I think this is a win for Portugal. An outright win. Because I think if they go to penalties, they're in trouble. But obviously going to pens against Croatia is they're the only team that practices pens, I feel like. Obviously that's not true, but man, I would not want to play that country in penalties. So we're gonna go with Portugal here. I think they're gonna sneak by with like a 1 or 2-1, 1-0, 2-1 win. Spain, Austria, easy 2-0 win for Spain here in LA. And then the last 3 games, Argentina, Cape Verde, Cabo Verde. I can say however I want to. They've earned a lot of respect from me, so I'll call them Cabo Verde. I think this is like a 3-0 win. Realistically, I'm sorry, Vozinha. I'm sorry, Steven Moreira. It's just not in Miami. It's not fair. Messi's just gonna fry them. I feel like they're gonna have to double team or triple team him, and I think that just cohesively as a unit, Argentina is gonna be able to score where Spain's attack is very young. I think they're just going to be able to capitalize off of some of the mistakes that Cape Verde did make against Spain that they couldn't capitalize on. I think Argentina will win this one pretty handedly. Then we have Australia and Egypt. Another fun one. Both teams are kind of mid, admittedly. I think Egypt has really good attack, which is going to help them secure a win here. But defensively, I think they could get exposed because of the speed that Australia has on the counter. So I'm gonna go with a 2-1 win for Egypt. They actually haven't looked. I thought they would play better. I thought they'd play like better football, especially after that first game against Belgium, where they were playing some great football. They really didn't convince me in the next 2 games with their on the field performances. But I'd like Egypt to get their first knockout win in their country's history. Setting up a fun one in Atlanta. Colombia, Ghana. I think this is just a swarm of something that Ghana wouldn't be prepared for. I think this is an easy 3-1 win for Colombia. Next round, I think we're just going to go off the top. Germany, France. Guys, this is a match. This is a match. Like, objectively, this is what we watch football for. Round of 16, Germany, France. July 4th. In Philadelphia. I'm leaning France, but I really like Germany. I know they haven't looked great, but they have the top talent to match the intensity of this game. It's just it's a matter whether or not they will make the mistakes that France probably won't. Because I've seen Germany when they're flying, but when they start making like mental errors, and it just doesn't help. I think this is a 2-2 draw. France wins on penalties. Canada, Morocco. July 4th, Houston. Like Morocco in this one, 2-0. I think just Canada that's just too much, Portugal, Spain, and that sends Morocco to their second straight quarterfinals, which is pretty impressive. Portugal, Spain. I like Spain in this one. I just don't. That's gonna be a fun one, but I think Spain. Yamal should be flying by then, and you have Oyarzabal. The midfield should be able to hold up against Portugal's midfield. And Yamal versus Nuno Mendes is always a matchup that I will appreciate to watch. Hopefully that happens, USA Senegal, they actually played right before the World Cup in a friendly. USA won 3-2, but it was a pretty rotated Senegal side. They started 5 or 6 guys that really shouldn't be playing for them. I don't think that's going to be the case here. I still think the U.S. they did bring the firepower that match. I think the U.S. should be able to beat them again. I think if this goes to pens, I'm a little bit more worried with the United States. I'm not really so. Look, this is totally a little bit biased, but I think they should be able to capitalize off of Senegal's errors again, and I think this could be like a 2-1 win for the U.S. Just especially in Seattle. That game in Seattle was just crazy atmosphere. Whereas this Bosnia game, there's going to be a decent amount of Bosnians in the stands. Senegal, I'm not sure. In Seattle, that doesn't seem like a place where Senegal would just take over. I can't see that happening. I think this is a crowd inspired 2-1 win for the U.S. Very biased, but we'll see. Brazil, Norway. Woo! We are here for this one. I think this is a. See, I love Brazil in this World Cup. I think coaching matters a lot, and I think Carlo Ancelotti's done a good job managing this World Cup for Brazil. It's gonna be a very similar match to the Morocco game, where it's just a lot going on. Midfield wise, I think Norway's gonna be able to match the tempo, and that's obviously Brazil's weak spot is that midfield. Defensively, Brazil also has looked shaky at times. I think Marquinhos is gonna get dogged by Holland and like Sorloth, but Brazil passion. Come on now, this will be the fun game. I mean, these round of 16 matches look just phenomenal. Ecuador, England. Okay, this is a nasty 0-0 draw win for Ecuador, where they win in penalties in Mexico City. Come on now, don't play with them. Don't play with them. Setting up a very funny quarterfinal matchup between Ecuador and Brazil. And honestly, I'm looking at this and I'm like, wow, man. That's like obvious, and then I think this is obvious as well. So this just sets up an all CONMEBOL quarterfinals. That's the match I'm going back to. Mexico wins and England wins. I'm going back. That's it. I'm only going back and doing that. So guys, Mexico wins, maybe a 1-0, and then England beats Mexico. Maybe 2-1. Overtime winner for like Ivan Toney. How funny would that be? Ivan Toney and Quinones going for the Saudi Golden Boot. Now playing for a spot in the quarterfinals. That would be sick. And then we have the 9th. We have July 9th. We have France and Morocco. I actually really like France in this game. Again, I think it's a good matchup. Both teams. I think this is another penalty shootout. I mean, it's just that's how knockout football goes, though. But I think this is a France 1-1 draw. They win in either extra time or penalties. And then this is where the fairy tale ends for the U.S. I think Spain wins 2-1. Maybe the U.S. get out ahead early. I just don't think defensively we're going to be able to defend for 90 minutes against Spain. They're one of like 4 teams that I just can't see the U.S. beating, and that would be France, that would be Argentina, that would be Spain, and honestly, I'd put Colombia in that group as well, simply because I think Colombia has the fire in them to be able to withstand anything. I think they're the most fiery team in the world, if that makes sense. But I think the U.S. are just a horrible matchup for them. Maybe Morocco as well. I think the current state of the Moroccan team is just so, the mentality-wise is so crazy. I just don't know if we'd be able to beat them. I think we could beat Germany. I think we could maybe beat the Netherlands, maybe beat Portugal on a rough day. I think we could beat Brazil just because those teams have like those moments in games where they just aren't at that top level, like France, Argentina, and Spain, where they just don't have those moments. Whereas like teams like Germany, they do. They kind of have those weird moments in the middle of games where they look very vulnerable. Anyway, back to that. That's kind of a tangent, but Spain, yes, in LA would be a crazy environment. Obviously, first quarterfinal for the U.S. in a long time. Wow, I will be seated for that on Friday night probably. Ooh, just tough way to go out, but I think that's where the fairy tale ends. Brazil in Miami. Come on now, get these red coats out of here. We're done. We're done with the red coats. Send them home. 1-0 win for Brazil. This is obviously peak football right here. Colombia, Argentina, Kansas City, Argentina. And wow, here we are in the semifinals. We have France and Spain. Wow. I mean, wow. These are probably the two best teams in the world. Euros versus CONMEBOL. Wow. I'm going with Spain here. I think in a knockout game, they're going to be able to be more disciplined than France. They have the best player in the world. You know, argue with a wall. Mbappe is not better than Yamal. Messi might be better than both, though. Which is where Brazil ends. And pre-tournament, my final was Brazil-Spain. So I've switched up a little bit. And it could have been Brazil-Spain. I just thought Brazil would come out a little more fire. And, you know, they would still have to play 4 more games. So, you know, maybe they could find it. It is a long tournament, right? So as long as you just get your results, as long as you find it, anything's possible. But I am going to go with Argentina here. 2-1, Messi brace. Come on now, it's cinema. Then we have, go back to the Spain and France game. We have probably honestly a 3-3, just wild draw. I think both teams defensively aren't phenomenal for, I guess, as their weaknesses. You know, I think their defenses are kind of very even. I would give the edge to France, probably. Although Spain defends better as a unit. Midfield-wise, Spain mogs them. It's my opinion. I think Rabiot is a great midfielder. I think all the other midfielders for France are very suspect. They have their moments. I think they're all good. I don't think there's any bad midfielders for France, but I think they have their moments. Rabiot obviously does too, but I think he's just a very underrated player. Spain's midfield though is just phenomenal, and attacking wise, I think it's kind of even, but I would give the edge to France just as an overall unit. I mean, Olise, Dembele, Mbappe, wow, Doué, you know, all these guys. It's gonna be tough for Spain to stop them, but I think it's gonna be tough for both teams to stop each other. 3-3 cinematic penalty shootout win for the Spanish. And wow, talk about Yamal, Messi in New York for the final. And what are we thinking here? I mean, this matchup would just be so awesome. I genuinely don't even know what to say. Both teams play as such a collective. I think I'm going to lean Spain just because of how hard it is to follow it up. And I really, outside of these last 2 games, I don't think Argentina will have been tested. You know, I think Spain just has had a much tougher group. They had a tough group. You know, they started the tournament out with a tough draw. I just think they're going to be able to get it done here. 2-1. Goals from Rodri, deflected goal for sure. And then I'm going with Yamal. And then I'm going to go with either a Pessi penalty or Julian Alvarez, because he's has a knack for getting those big time game goals. So Yeah. I have Spain winning the World Cup here. Sue me. This is though, however, the only correct way to interpret these knockout matches. So thank you guys for listening, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your week and enjoy the knockout games. We're about to have some great fun with that. So yeah, see you guys on the flip.